My name's Aingaran Pillai. I'm the CEO and founder of Zaizi. So I'm going to give you a quick background and introduction to Hiten and the University of Westminster project, and then you'll hear directly from Hiten about their experiences of using Alfresco. So we've got involved with University of Westminster. Oh, sorry. Did you want to do an introduction, or shall I keep going? Okay. All right. Sorry. We started working. They decided, right, okay, Alfresco is the product, and they were going to roll it out across the organization, and they needed to go, take it to a production state, and that's when Zaizi got involved. So we run their Alfresco instance for them as a private cloud instance, if you will. So we manage it, we support it, and we run it for them. And so that gives Hiten and his team, it lets them focus on user adoption and rollout. They don't have to worry about the day-to-day running. They get an SLA we've got an SLA with them, which we try and meet. So when they say things like, it's in a cloud, but our authentication users are taking a long time to log in, we were able to, quickly integrate that with their Google Apps for education, which Hiten will also talk about, to speed up their authentication. So we worry about the technical stuff, and Hiten worries about the user adoption and rollout. And he's going to talk specifically about that and how they've been using Alfresco. So I'll hand it over to Hiten.
Yeah, I'll say a brief word. So today we're going to cover the subject of Alfresco Share and Share in Action. So our two clients, Hiten and Jeroen, so Hiten from University of Westminster and Jeroen from iMinds, both use Alfresco Share inside their organizations. And we'll explain to you what it enabled in terms of great collaboration and why they chose Alfresco and the whole process of their story. So welcome, Hiten.
Thank you, I think.
Okay, you have.
All right. Great, thank you to Christel and Anga for those introductions. So hello everyone, my name is Hiten, as has been mentioned. Extensively for that matter. And I'm going to talk today a bit about our experience with implementing and using Alfresco. So we'll talk a little bit about the University of Westminster, just give you a bit of an introduction to that. We'll tell you about who we are, kind of our initial experiences, why we eventually decided to move to a software as a service version of Alfresco rather than looking after it ourselves, and the lessons we've learned within that process. Before I start though, can I ask who's already using Alfresco in the room? Good, I'm glad to see Jeff not from Alfresco is using Alfresco, that's good. So pretty much everyone, that's fantastic. And how many of you would describe yourself as more technically minded? A couple there, and are the rest of you more business-minded? I'm seeing nods in the room, so that's good. Great. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Westminster. I'll try not to wax too lyrical about this, but it is really a great place to study and a great place to learn and also to teach. And I'd like to say that goes without saying, but I think it needs saying. And we're also a very distinctive institution. So we're not like, in being a distinctive institution, we have a very clear focus in the way we run our organization from a learning and teaching perspective. So we're not like a stuffy old university. I won't name any names, but you can imagine a very traditional kind of teaching environment. And equally, we have kind of some cutting-edge courses and some very well-renowned courses, particularly in the area of architecture and business, and also media arts and design. So that brings us kind of a gravitas as an institution. But the other part of our gravitas is that we've been around for quite a while. This is our main building. It's in Regent Street. It's been there for quite a while, and the institution as a whole has been around for 175 years. So I speak to people and they say, I'm from like an institution that's been around 70 years. It's got lots of legacy stuff to carry around. I'm like, don't even talk to me about that. 175 years. Think of all that baggage. But having said that, I think I'm going to show you this picture. This is from 1850. So this is what was known as the exhibition hall at what was then the Royal Polytechnic. which later became the University of Westminster. And they'd open this up to the public, and it would be filled with kind of the scientific innovations of the day. So they had all manner of wonderful things, like you could have a go at a diving bell, and they had like a swimming pool in there, and they'd have a fake canal, and they'd have like modern boats in there and things. So it was open to the public. It was very popular. It was £1 to get in, which sounds cheap because a shilling is, in theory, only 5 pence, but in modern terms is about 35 to 40 euros. So it was affordable for the average person, but it was definitely a special treat. So whilst we have that kind of history and that gravitas, we also try and pioneer education, make it available to all, and we have been collaborating for 175 years. Now, I'm sure you can all remember your experiences of the kind of people who work at universities. I'm sure if you can cast your mind back to when perhaps you were at university or a similar institution, and you walk into a lecturer's office, and there's this kind of musty smell in the air, there's books everywhere, the lecturer has to move a pile of papers off the chair so that you can sit down, if you're lucky. And if you think about that kind of person, there's quite a few of those in our organization. There's also a range of people. There's kind of people who are right on the forefront of technology. But our culture, to an extent, is defined by those people. In terms of, those people, they don't love filing. Filing is document management to them. And they're not in love with them. They don't think it's sexy. Even our CEO, actually, or our equivalent of a CEO, we spoke to him the other week, and he said, "Oh, I still carry 2 of these," and he pulls out one of these, a USB stick, and he said, "Oh no, I've only got one today. The other one is still stuck in the laptop, and that's been taken for repair." So we kind of smack ourselves on the forehead and think, if our CEO is behaving in this way, how do we persuade the rest of the organization actually to move to a more modern solution? So we started that journey in 2009, 2010, and it's been a bumpy ride for the first few years, certainly. There was a variety of things. Mostly, again, going back to that lecturer, room full of books, papers everywhere. There's that kind of initial fear about using something different at all. So we had to do a lot of work. We put a lot of investment into engaging with those people, providing training, and trying to get them comfortable with Alfresco. But the product, unfortunately, at the time, had some bugs in, and our system wasn't that stable. So when a user is afraid of using a new system or has some reticence, then any excuse will put them off. So they can just say, "It doesn't work, I'm not going to use it." We'd also done a lot of customization on the product, which we ended up pulling out because it wasn't the direction we were trying to go in. Generally, what we started out wanting, which was a system that we hosted in-house that was heavily customized, ended up not being what we want. So what we really wanted was software as a service. We wanted something else, and this kind of thing wasn't available when we started our journey with Alfresco. But by last year or the year before, there were some real tangible players and options in the market for us to pursue. So just to elaborate more on why we wanted software as a service, we wanted it to be someone else's problem, the kind of technical side of it, as Anga alluded to. We want to be able to say someone else is dealing with that, someone else who really knows it is dealing with it. And we wanted them to look after the problems of making sure the system was up, doing patches on the system where they come around, and providing 24/7 support so that we weren't, well, I and my colleagues weren't being called at 3 a.m. saying, it's down. And we say, "Why are you still working at 3 a.m., go to bed?" Which is the wrong response. So we now have that from Zaizi. How did we go about getting that? Well, first of all, we ran an EU procurement. We specified what we wanted, and Zaizi were able to meet all our requirements. So it was really, from that perspective, it was that simple. And we're really actually very happy with the service they provide at the moment. We've got that 24/7 support, so we know that if something happens in the middle of the night, it will be looked after. That we have that confidence in them that they know the system inside and out. So in terms of lessons learned, I think there are two main points which I'd highlight from that journey. The first and the perhaps lesser of the 2 points is that no product is perfect, and we've definitely encountered that with Alfresco. And to me, when we've been working with our reluctant users, it's easy to blame the product. So I'll come back to that in more. But in terms of the problems with Alfresco, in some ways it really sucks. So this is an example. This is the way we set group permissions in Alfresco. And you can see it says, so you do a few clicks and you get this dialog box, and it says, contributors have contributor privileges. So first of all, there's one word being used for two different meanings. It's being used for a group of people and for an associated set of permissions. So you have to understand that in your head, and you have to do the translation. And secondly, it's very difficult to understand because there's inheritance and there's lots of potential to really muck it up. Let's compare that with what our users also have access to, which is Google Docs. And there they say, well, you can either edit it, you can view it, or you're the owner of it. And the language used there and the mechanism for changing it is very intuitive. It's very user-friendly. So I think there are some elements of Alfresco which really need that user-friendliness. So and I think that I'm seeing nods that people recognize that from their own experience. But that has to be, that's balanced, you know, it's across the spectrum. There are some things which Alfresco does well, and I know it's working on these things as well. So the user interface, for example, is fairly, to get your basics out, to find a document, it's not too difficult, really. It's okay, it's fairly familiar. And this is improving all the time. I think we can agree. We started on version 3.4 point something, and we're now on version 4.1.2, and there's been a big improvement along that journey. So I'm hoping that maybe in a couple of years, Alfresco will be the product that we were promised it was going to be when we first signed up, but who knows. And then there's some things that Alfresco is great at. I typed in customization into Google and I got this picture. So I don't really know what is in that car there. It looks like an engine, but I can't quite work out what's going on there. But with Alfresco, you can do the same thing. You can make it your own. You can really customize it to meet the needs of your organization. And to me, that is still a big strength of the product, and something which differentiates it really from the other offerings in the market which you could use. So that's my first lesson learned, is about the product. But the second main point to me is that it is really all about the people. That's where we, as an organization, have historically invested all our effort, and now, thanks to Zaizi, we can really focus on that and not worry as much about the technical side. I think whichever product we used, had we not used Alfresco, had we chosen something else, I think a lot of the issues we've encountered in terms of user resistance, in terms of getting people to throw away the old junk they have on their file stores, which they don't need anymore, in terms of actually just sitting down and thinking it through and doing it, we'd still have those problems with other products, whatever we used. So for us, and I apologize to some of the people in this room because they've perhaps heard this story before. For us, it really is all about the people and how we engage with those. And I was interested to hear yesterday there was a panel group there which highlighted 4 main points. And I remember listening to those and thinking, actually, we've done all of those, but not 100% successfully. So that to me really just drives home the complexity of getting this working from a people perspective, and really the need to invest in that area. Good. So in terms of the future, this has been a journey for us, and I think we expected the journey to be near an end, but after 2.5 to 3 years. But that was perhaps hopelessly naive of us, and I think this journey is going to continue for some time to come. And the product, I think, will, in that time, very, very easily meet all of our needs. But the people, I think, will still need some work to take along with us. I think we're just about to approach the hump of that journey. So I'm hoping in the future it will be easier. But I suspect there's a little way to climb until we get there. Any questions? Or are we doing questions at the end?
Yeah, I think we're going to do questions at the end of the session. Okay. Sure. Thank you so much, Hiten, for your feedback on how you use collaboration and Alfresco, how you inside.
Sorry, I forgot to mention actually one back on the customization. We've done some great things there actually. One of the first things we did was publish from Alfresco out to Google Docs so that students could access our past exam papers, and that's been very successful. And more recently, we've Zaizi have implemented for us an integration with Google Apps in general, so that users don't have to, if they're already signed into Google Apps, they can just go straight through into Alfresco. And that certainly, in terms of usability, it's one of those relatively simple things to do, but it's really enhanced the user experience. Sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah, thanks for emphasizing. Thank you very much, Hiten. We're going to do a set of questions at the end of the session. So let me introduce you, Jeroen Derynck. So Jeroen Derynck is ICT Director at iMinds. iMinds is a Belgium company, founded in 2004, and it's one of the 4 research centers in Flanders. But it's also an international research company, so they have offices all over the world. iMinds are facing social challenges. In research, you need to have a great collaboration tool, otherwise you can't do your job. And you can't provide the actual research. So you need to have a great collaboration tool. So Jeroen is going to go through the impact of great collaboration on iMinds' performance. So,
lovely.
Do you need the micro?
No,
okay.
This works? Yeah,
perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, buenas tardes. Yes, iMinds. Just a quick word on myself, turning digital cacophonies into symphonies. I think that's what Hiten also said, you know, turning from analog thinking to digital thinking. That's basically what I do, and that's what I do at iMinds. Now, where collaboration and agile research come together. That's basically the bottom line of this presentation. We are a research institute founded in 2004, so unfortunately not that long around as the University of Westminster. Like you pointed out, 4 research centers. Every research center has its own core competence, and ours is ICT innovation in technology. We're spearheading research in key areas like security and future internet, and we're going to launch a health innovation center next year. Now, we are truly an international research community with more than 55 different nationalities. So sometimes, of course, this is a cacophony, but then in terms of languages. Now, we see information technology as a driving force of innovation in many sectors in the industry. And typically, we want to tackle societal challenges like employment, urbanization, aging society, globalization, public health and well-being, and of course, the environment. We focus on the different markets here, and these are the major technologies we are investing in and doing research in. Now, we do different types of research. Just to give you a bit of perspective on what the Research Institute actually does. We do strategic research, so we get funding by the government, and then we have innovative ways of spending that money, of course. We do also do applied research, so any company can come up to us and ask, can you join us for a specific research program? We focus on large companies, small companies, but typically what we want to do is we want to enable the small and medium-sized companies to really, become better and bigger. We also do testing, and I think one of our most visible things is that we are incubating small companies, and we try to accelerate them. We have some 40 of them. Now, typically, ICON is what we do. So we give money, the company gives money, and then we do a 2-year program together. We have 800 researchers organized in 5 departments. And these are all the technologies and all the different stuff that those guys are doing. Now, that will become quite important because later on I'll talk about, why we're not doing clouds. Well, you see, the future internet and the security department, that's where we have the bulk of our researchers. And okay, you try to talk to a researcher about security on the internet, and then the cloud for them is a no-go. 5 different research departments. If you want to know more about our projects, you can just log on to our website, and there you have, let's say, more than 300 projects to find out. The Living Labs is basically, if you have technology and you want to test it out with a larger audience, you can come to us and we will do some kind of a beta testing. And we do training and coaching, financing, we provide facilities to the young startups. So we have what we call the Startup Garage, and there we have a lot of young people, coming up with the next innovative idea. This is our portfolio, and this is basically the ecosystem that you're working with. So on the left-hand side, we have private capital and public capital flowing in. And if everything works well, and we go through the whole flow, then we perhaps might be going for an IPO. Not happened yet, but it's bound to happen sometime soon. So 380 projects, more than 50 startups, more than 800 researchers, 1,000 publications, and we roughly do 40 million euro on an annual basis. We're working together with 5 universities. So yes, we might even work with external, well, let's say, non-Belgium-based universities. And what we always say is that our collaborative platform is what truly sets us apart from our peers. You can imagine 380 projects that really requires a collaborative culture. If it's not in the genes, then it will not work. So why is collaboration and collaborative culture so important? It's, that you have the ease of talking to people and that you can easily share ideas and thoughts. If that's not in the genes, it's not going to work. Now, a day in the life of an iMinds project. So typically what we do is the projects are done with consortiums, private partners, public partners, universities, and we have a coordinating role. It takes 2 years, sometimes up to 5 years. It involves more than between 3 and 10 partners, and the more partners, the more collaborators, of course. So you can imagine a lot of communication channels. And if you look at the role of communications, it's really the key to a successful project. So this is the typical equation that you have and that everybody knows by heart by now, how to calculate the number of communication channels that you have. So we try to limit those communication channels, and we try to centralize and focus everything on one collaboration platform. Why? Information overload. Everybody has to deal with information overload. But we want our researchers to focus really on the content and not on dealing with the information overload. Now, anybody knows what the cost of information overload is? There's really a value. Yes, stress, burnouts, but even more, there's a money value that you can put on information overload. Nobody? No guess? Looks like everybody has problems with the after-dinner dip. Well, information overload costs the US economy $900 billion on a yearly basis. That's what the cost of information overload is. So, of course, we want to try to avoid that. So the essence of collaboration, it's really about all these things that you see on the slide here. We all know that collaboration culture is the most important one. So, what's the impact of collaboration on company performance? Anybody guess? It's 36%. So the more collaborative you are, the better you will do on the performance level. Now, the old way, this is why we moved over to an Alfresco, is we had poor collaboration. Everybody was sending documents via email, via, I don't know which channels. And of course, then you end up with an information overload. You're working on old versions, And to avoid that, we decided to introduce iMinds, which is the Alfresco platform. Now, just to give you some ideas, if you're a company with more than 1,000 people, again, you're losing a lot of money just because people can't find their information. So again, that's one of the drivers for us to go over to a collaborative platform. People, productivity software, collaborative software, and of course, methodologies. Those are the most important key elements that you need in your collaboration strategy. iMinds. We have Alfresco, on-premise hosting. Core is DMS and Wiki, and we launched the program and the product in 2009 with Amplexor, which is one of the major players in the Belgian market. It's state-of-the-art integration architecture, strong focus on security, and of course, it was done in development, collaborative development with our researchers. So this is the architecture. And like you can see, we have integration with Salesforce, Google Analytics, Windows Server, Solar, User Voice, OpenOffice Doodle, and Aggresso. So that's quite a complex architecture, but we needed that. We wanted really to embed Alfresco in our ecosystem. Identity and access management, SSO, we have Aggresso as an ERP system. So whenever you create a project on Alfresco Share, it's being fed into the ERP system. We link through from Salesforce, so we provide some key analytics in Salesforce, and then you can link through to the Alfresco Share. We have site analytics, appointments, conversations, the whole shizma-bang that everybody knows. Right, principle, pull and push mechanism. So it's either on request that you can join the site or you invite somebody to the site. We have the security set aside by the manager, so at the level of the site, work packages and documents. The IT service desk is, of course, the super administrator, and if we can't work it out, then we just call our Amplexor guys. Preview on the site members, workflows for documents, very important because we have steering committees, we have those consortia, so once in a while we need to publish the deliverables, they have to be reviewed, people want to know where you're standing. The thing is, in our company, project silos are data silos. And you might think now, well, this goes a bit against the grain, you know, this goes a bit against the thinking, you know, the collaborative thinking. It's not true, because whatever is in a project site, it's patented. There's intellectual property. So we cannot just say, you know, we open up all our sites to everybody else, because then, you know, they're going to steal the IP. A document library with visual previews, tagging, metadata, structuring, and of course, publishing via WebDAV. So the typical, you know, features that you will find on any Alfresco Share platform. This is the adoption curve. So like you see, we started back in 2009, and we have, you know, quite a constant inflow of people. We have some peaks, and that's typically when we release calls and we initiate new projects. And we have plus minus 360 sites, and of course, there you see the average of documents. We have a couple which are really, you know, the big players, and that's, of course, IT Service Desk, Eat Your Own Dog Food, and iCubes, which are basically our startup people. Good. What's the most important feature? It's documents, of course, because you have to put your content somewhere, and they use wikis, you know, to prepare the documents, but mostly it's documents what it's all about. And why do we not opt for the cloud? It's basically perception. I would like to move to the cloud, but then I have 800 researchers, you know, telling me that we shouldn't do that. I mean, we are on Google Mail, and you're even mad at us that we are on Gmail, because apparently the NSA is spying on us. No, it's not true. So we stay with the on-premise solution. Challenges, I think, for us, the most important one is moving beyond document management. Yes, we have a lot of functionalities, but still document management is the core. The file server problem, okay, we want to get rid of the file server, but we also need to archive our stuff. Content proliferation, like Hiten, you said, I mean, the Dropboxes are really everywhere, the boxes, the Google Drive. So, I mean, it's basically internal cannibalism and competition that we have to deal with. And every new platform comes with its own DMS. So yes, we could start to integrate all the DMSs with the DMSs, but that adds an extra layer of complexity. So that's not where we want to go to. Training, we have to keep on training people, but they are not on site, so we're looking at webinars to train them. You know, we have this online documentation, but still I am more for the classroom-based teaching method. Promoting the platform, because Other platforms seem to do better. Again, the Google Drives, the Dropbox is much more user-friendly or perception by user. Continue to embed in the ecosystem and enterprise search. I think that's the holy grail. Now, what's the roadmap? We have digitized the project management function, but when we do calls, we still do it the old-fashioned way, so you have to write out a Word format or a Word document or an Excel, and then you have to submit it, so we really want to digitize the calls, the abstracts, the full proposals, and the project reporting. The content mining, also quite important. Semantic tagging and seamless integration of all our channels. That's the challenges we are facing as an organization. But I must say that for the researchers, this initiative has really helped them, enabled them to streamline their research methodologies. Good.
Thank you. Do you want to come back and on stage, if I may say? We're gonna, if you have any questions to Hiten and Jeroen, any question? I have one question, if I may, because listening to both of the way you use Alfresco Share, quite different. Different organizations, different way of collaborating as well, and the results are different. What's the end user experience? How would you describe the end user experience with Alfresco Share? Try to be positive.
I'd say mixed. I mean, there's some of our business processes where Alfresco Share works very well. I'm not sure whether these words will mean much to you, but like we have a quality process called annual monitoring, and we have some of our kind of top-level committees as well. Alfresco fits very well with those processes where people submit documents centrally, and then other people get them out. The user experience there is generally very positive. Equally, there are some business processes, for example, some of the faculty offices, they have kind of very short transaction times, so they need to do things very quickly. They're seeing lots of people in a day and many students coming with queries. So for them, it's all about speed, getting things done within seconds. And there, Alfresco Share doesn't fit so well. So I'd say the experience can be great, especially with the newer versions, which are actually a big improvement on the previous ones. But equally, it's not always the most appropriate tool.
Yeah, it's okay, I have my mic. To be honest, we have two fronts. We have the researchers who think that Alfresco is the best next thing since sliced bread, and they're really happy to use it. Because while they're also in other research projects, and they're dealing with the hassle of the old way of working. And I've got my internal community, so we're roughly like 70 people working at HQ, and they don't like to use Alfresco because they have the other alternatives. They have the Dropboxes, and I don't think adoption by compliance is the way forward. So they really have to see the added value. So we're working on that. We're trying to converge them onto the platform, like you mentioned earlier. Yes, we might come up with integrating, with Google Drive,
Absolutely.
Just to let the end user experience do its work, but then be sure that all the documents are inside one repository. So yes, two sides
I
of the
think
story.
it's you're quite like summarizing what the market thinks in a way, because what our customers think. There's a big challenge today in our in companies is that the employees, the end users, they will use their public tools because they're used to them, like Dropbox. They will use all the applications, and so when the company has a new tool that is approved by IT, that is approved with compliance, and sometimes it takes a while, and it takes a lot of education as well from the company. So that's difficult to. It takes a while for people to get really up and running with Alfresco Share, like with any other ECM solution. So I think the product is really improving, Alfresco Share. I think you've seen, all of you, the way it's going. It's really improving, and we're taking all the feedback on board to make this a great user experience. Because if the end user uses it, then it can work.
To be honest, I've done Alfresco, I've done SharePoint, I've done LiveLink, I've done Documentum. I mean, they all have the same problem. So I think it's more generic problem that you see in the ECM sphere than a product problem. And then again, we are all used now to those sexy tools indeed, like in Gmail, like Twitter, like Facebook, you know, where it's all one click.
Instant.
Instant, yes. And I think that's the biggest challenge to to become level with those players.
Yeah, but and ways of working are changing as well, and I think it's whole education that we're getting there. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
We're getting there. All
the product is still young, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, when we were choosing our product, we were perhaps naive in our expectations. And you look at some of these consumer-facing products like Google and Facebook and whatever, they all have massive product teams. So it's their ability to update their interfaces is quite fast and quite rapid, and they don't necessarily have to conform to a release cycle. Yep, I agree. It has improved a lot over with each successive version, and I think the challenge for us is to work with our users and to help them over that hump.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I'm sure you have more questions to Jeroen and Hiten. Can you be reached easily by email?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll...
Email, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, whatever you want.
Okay, okay. If we don't have any more questions, we'll close the session. But you're still around until when? Next couple of hours. Okay, well, so...
Okay,
well,
you.
thank you. Thanks to both of you for sharing your experience.
My pleasure.